Philippians chapter 2, and we're going to start in verse 19 and just finish out chapter 2 today. It says, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, so that I too may be cheered by news of you. For I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. For they all seek their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But you know Timothy's proven worth, how as a son with a father he has served with me in the gospel. I hope therefore to send him just as soon as I see how it will go with me, and I trust in the Lord that shortly I myself will come also. And so we remember that the epistle to the Philippians, Paul is responding to a gift that the church in Philippi has sent him through one of their members, Epaphroditus. And this is a church that has partnered with him. In chapter 1, he says, you've partnered with me in the gospel from the first day until today. And so in a sense, there's a piece of this letter that is like a missionary report, where Paul is sort of reporting back. This is a church that participates with him financially, tangibly, with prayer, with love, with support. They're like-minded in heart and in mind. And so he's giving them a report. He's letting them know, this is what's going on with me. This is what's happening. I know you're worried about this, but let me tell you about this. And so this is a part of that. He's kind of telling them, look, these are my plans. This is what I'm planning to do. This is why I'm planning on doing it. And another piece of it is that Epaphroditus has obviously come. I don't know if there was a letter that Epaphroditus actually carried, or if he was just relaying the information once he recovered from his illness. But the other piece of it is that he's responding to actual issues, actual requests, questions, things like that were posed or things that are going on in the church in Philippi. And so in this section here, he's sort of going back to that, missionary report thing, where he's going to tell you, this is what's going on. These are what my plans are. And so he's telling him, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon. And you get the feeling in this section of the chapter here that the Philippians have anticipated that Timothy would be coming soon. And so they may have sent a request. They may have asked, could you please send us Timothy? We want to see him. Timothy was with Paul and Silas on their first missionary journey to Philippi. And so he was someone that they knew, someone they considered, knew that was close to Paul, considered him, part of the family, maybe like an elder, someone they looked up to, a pastor in the church. And so they wanted Timothy. And so Paul's just letting him know his plans. He says, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, so that I too may be cheered by news of you. And then he says, for I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare. For they all seek their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. And so you can't help but miss here that Paul is sort of beginning to hold Timothy up to them as an example of everything he's been teaching them as, desirable traits of believers through the previous, chapter and verse of this epistle, where he's, said, live your lives that are worthy of the gospel. Let me just read it. So where he said, let your manner of life, that's what it is. Let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel. And he goes there, and then in the other one, he says, do nothing from vain conceit or selfish ambition. Consider others more important than yourselves. And so he's holding up Timothy as an example of that. He's saying that I have no one like him who will be genuinely concerned for your welfare, because they all seek their own interests and not those of Jesus Christ. And so Timothy is an example of someone who doesn't, he considers others more important than himself. He doesn't think of himself first. His motivation is not his own name, his own ministry, his own thing, his own game, and in his own little corner. His motivation, Paul is saying, is like my own. I want to serve Christ, whether by life or by death, that by any means I will serve the Lord and serve the gospel with my body. And Timothy is like me, he's saying. He says, but you know Timothy's proven worth, and how as a son with his father, he has served with me in the gospel. Paul's like, listen, I consider this man, Timothy, I consider him like a son to me. I've discipled him from the time he was a young man until now. He is one of the closest people to me in the whole world. I see him as a son. And as he says, I hope therefore to send him just as soon as I see how it will go with me. And so he's kind of, what he's doing, he's kind of letting him down, right? Like, so I know you want to see Timothy. I know you want me to send him to him. I'm going to, but I'm not going to do it just yet. I have to keep him here a little while longer with me, until I see how it will go with me. And he says, and then I trust in the Lord that shortly I myself will come also. So he's saying, not only will I see Timothy, but then you'll get to see me too. I mean, we're going to have a good reunion. We're going to see each other. I just can't quite send Timothy just yet. So kind of letting him down there a little bit. And then also, like I said, holding Timothy up as an example to them. And then he says in verse 25, I have thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and fellow worker and fellow soldier, and your messenger and minister to my need. For he has been longing for you all and has been distressed that you heard he was ill. And so he continues like, okay, listen, I know you want me to send Timothy. I hope to send him soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to send Epaphroditus. And he's kind of building Epaphroditus up. He's like, look, don't be disappointed that I'm sending Epaphroditus, right? I mean, I find it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus. And he reminds them, look, my brother, my fellow worker, my fellow soldier, this is someone that I love, that I respect, that I honor, and your messenger and your minister to my need, for he has been longing for you and has been distressed that you heard that he was ill. Look, I want to get him home to you. You know, he's been longing for you. He made this journey. He became ill. He was sick. It says, and indeed he was ill, near to death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. I am more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. And so Paul's just saying, listen, I'm going to go ahead and send Epaphroditus to you. Look, I've just had anxiety, I mean, the guy got sick on the way there. He almost died. I was worried for him, that he was going to lose his life, in bringing me this gift. And I mean, I would have felt terrible. I love him. He's such a wonderful, brother. And so I really just want to get him back, with his church family, with his family. We don't know if he's married, if he had a wife, if he had children that he had left in order to go on this journey to bring this gift, but he's made this sacrifice, and I really just want to see him back with you all, and it says, so receive him in the Lord with all joy and honor such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me. And so he's just saying, listen, don't be disappointed to see Epaphroditus, right? You're going to see Timothy soon, but listen, receive Epaphroditus back. Don't be disappointed to see him. Receive him in the Lord with all joy and honor him. Like, honor such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ. And in this section, really, Paul is also holding up Epaphroditus as an example here, right? Of the things that he has taught beforehand. And listen, Epaphroditus, he nearly gave his life for the gospel. He gave everything. He left his home, he left his family, he left his friends, he left his church, and he made this journey. He became ill, and he did everything. He sacrificed unselfishly to serve me and to serve you. And so honor him. He nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me. And so you see, what does he mean by that, by the way? What does he mean by he risked his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me? Is he saying something that you didn't do something you should have done? No. What were they lacking in their service to him? What was lacking was their presence, right? They gave money, they gave financially, they probably gave him clothing, they were giving tangibly, they were praying for him, they were loving him, but what he was missing, what was lacking, was their physical presence. And of course they couldn't all come to see Paul in Rome, right? But Epaphroditus was the one who made the sacrifice. He's the one that, like I said, left home, left family, left church, did it all, made the journey, got sick, almost died, so that he could be physically present and be a physical comfort as a brother to Paul the apostle. And he's saying, just honor him. He's holding Epaphroditus up as that example, right? He held himself up as an example earlier, saying, whether by life or by death, I'm going to serve the gospel with my body, right? And then he holds Jesus as an example, that he humbled himself even unto the point of death, became obedient to death, even death upon a cross. And then here now he's holding up Epaphroditus and saying, look, this man gave everything for the work of the gospel. And you need to honor him, right? And you need to be like him. And so anyway, that wraps up chapter 2, but just continuing on in Paul's instruction, but also just giving example to them. First of Paul himself, second of Christ, then of Timothy, and then lastly of Epaphroditus. So the next one we'll move into chapter 3.